Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to present the proposed Wellesley Police Department budget for FY22. My name is Jack Pilecki, the Chief of Police, and I will be your presenter. I'll keep this as short as possible as you have many presentations to review, but if you do have a question, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. I'd like to start with our budget priorities. For FY22, our budget priorities include proposing a fiscally responsible budget, meeting contractual obligations and adequately funding operational costs, ensuring adequate funding for employee training, and level fund or decrease line items where possible. For police department staffing, we have 46 full-time police officers, 1 chief, 1 deputy chief, we have 4 lieutenants, 6 sergeants, 34 patrol officers, and an animal control officer. We have 10 civilian dispatchers, 2 of which are on duty at all times. We also have 3 administrative staff and 1 IT programmer analysis. Okay, let's talk about our FY22 budget highlights. We're requesting a $7,072,081 budget, which is a 2.57% increase from last year, slightly above guidelines. This reflects a 2.98% increase for personal services, and that's due to contractually driven salary increases for superior officers, police officers, and dispatchers. It also includes an increase to the overtime budget necessary for increasing training mandates. The expenses side reflects a 0.78% decrease. Police services during COVID. All Wellesley Police Department employees are essential and reported to work normally, despite lockdowns and closures through the global pandemic. Our department altered and adapted operational plans for how we responded to calls for service since March of 2020. We have continued to provide all essential services to the community while protecting our officers and staff from COVID-19. As a result of our planning and precautions, we have had no community spread within the department. Training was one of the biggest impacts on the department. Many training classes were canceled or not available due to COVID-19. Other training was held online where possible. Department-wide classes that would normally run for 2 days now have to be spread out on average of 5 days to accommodate COVID capacity restrictions. This obviously increases instructor costs significantly. Court has been closed or significantly reduced, thus reducing overtime costs for officers testifying in trials. Budget impacts due to COVID include the Boston Marathon. It is now scheduled for October 11th of this year. And if run again in April of 2022, we will incur a cost of approximately $18,000 twice during the fiscal year. Wellesley Wonderful Weekend, if it is postponed to fall of 2021 and held again in the spring of 2022, would have us incur a cost of approximately $20,000 twice in the fiscal year. Many in-person specialized training programs have been put on hold due to COVID. We anticipate a need to send more officers to specialized training in FY22. In some cases, these are recertification classes that have been postponed, but are required for the officer to be certified to teach or to testify in court. As noted, court has been closed and trials postponed. A large backlog of cases awaiting trial exists. As such, there may be a very large number of Wellesley police officers at court every day testifying once restrictions are lifted and trials resume. I'd like to briefly go over our training mandates. All officers in Massachusetts must attend an annual in-service training course. The content of this in-service training is determined by the MPTC, or the Municipal Police Training Committee. The training covers topics such as legal updates, hate crimes, defensive tactics, domestic violence, firearms, cybercrimes, CPR, first responder, AED, first aid. Additional training includes mental health first aid for first responders, certification classes such as accident reconstruction and crime scene processing, We teach less than lethal force, use of force, and de-escalation training. Finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about the impact of the police reform bill. On December 31st, 2020, Governor Baker signed into law an act relative to justice, equity, and accountability in law enforcement in the Commonwealth, which is also known as the Police Reform Bill. This bill mandates are required to be adopted by Massachusetts police departments and included as part of their policies and operating procedures. There will be significant changes to training as a result of the implementation of this bill. The costs of these unknown changes will be incurred by each police department. This bill will create a new mandatory certification process for all police officers, something in my opinion is long overdue. Some of the training will focus on de-escalation tactics being employed before an officer may utilize any type of force. Our department has been doing this for many years. Departments will also be required to turn in records pertaining to hiring, training, and discipline for all police officers. Finally, the part-time intermittent training academy that our special police officers attended will no longer be an acceptable standard of training. If the special police officers are to continue to work, they will need to attend a bridge academy of approximately 200 hours. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Again, I tried to keep it as short as possible, but if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Thank you very much.